Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money. With your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey, everybody. It's Tom here with episode 59 of Screw the Commute podcast. Wow, this show is going to, quote, blow you away today. We got the blown up guy here, Brian Fleming, and let me tell you, the blown up guy is not just some cute moniker he made up, like the telephone doctor or something like that. No, when I talk about Brian Fleming, I'm talking about a guy who was actually blown up. All right, so wait till you hear his story and comeback. Now, episode 58, list building. If you missed that, what's up? How could you miss that one? The money is in your list, folks. The gold is in your list. So go back and make sure you listen to that if you missed it. That's episode 58. That's one of my Monday training sessions on list building. I do training sessions every Monday on something that's either made me a lot of money or saved me a lot of money. So don't forget those Monday sessions. Now, today's sponsor is AmazingPublicSpeaking.com. This is a membership site with over 475 professional and public speaking training videos, plus audios and articles. And the guy on today is a prolific speaker. If you want to do the kind of stuff he does without getting blown up, there's other ways to do it. I wouldn't take that route if I had to choose. But we also have a corresponding complimentary webinar with 30 speaking tips in 37.625432 minutes, I think. I don't know. We'll have a link to that in the show notes. This is episode 59, so the show notes would be at screwthecommute.com/59. All right, let's get to the main event. Brian Fleming is an author, speaker, and combat wounded veteran. That's an understatement right there. He's a resilience trainer for the U.S. military and teaches people how to come back from setbacks as stronger, better people. And he's a walking poster child for that, for sure. He speaks for Fortune 500 companies and other organizations about how to stand firm when everything around you is blowing up. Brian, are you ready to screw?
Is that question ever answered in the negative?
The commute. Well, one guy said, "Oh, Tom, you know my wife's name isn't Commute." So, man, it's been a long time. I'm so glad we reconnected. What have you been up to lately, man?
Oh, just traveling, speaking. Got another book coming out, which we'll talk about here in a bit. And I'm lucky to be alive, man. I'm happy to be above ground.
Well, tell everybody your story.
Well, I mean, in a short version, I was a team leader in an infantry platoon with the U.S. Army's 10th Mountain Division while fighting the war in Afghanistan. And
how old were you at the time?
I think I was 20, 21.
Uh-huh.
And while two of my vehicles that I was inside of were blown up, the first one was by a roadside bomb that we ran over. I actually walked away from that without a scratch on me, miraculously.
Should have kept walking.
Yeah. And then a few months later, a suicide bomber in a minivan decided to pull up his minivan right up next to my door in my vehicle while driving down Highway 1 through Kandahar, and he blew himself and his minivan into about 10,000 pieces, and I woke up in a ditch on the side of the road, burned and bloody. He was the only one who died, so, you get a Purple Heart if you get blown up or shot in combat, and so they give you this license plate, right? Yeah, you get a Purple Heart license plate if you get a Purple Heart. And so my Purple Heart license plate actually says "nice try" on it because he was the only guy who died. So that's my way of sticking it back to him.
I love that. But those pictures, and they're in your, what's the name of your first book?
Well, the recent one
or
before this was...
Yeah, the one that has the pictures in it. Or do they all have?
Yeah, the first couple did. The one was never the same. The more recent one was redeployed.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just go to blownupguy.com, there's pictures on there. That's the easy way to remember.
Yeah. Oh, man. I remember seeing those things and then looking at you and then looking at those. Like, wow, man.
Yeah, I woke up that day and had a bad year.
How long had you been in the service when that happened?
About 2 years.
2 years. Now, had you had a job before that? Because you'd only been 18 when you went into service, right? Or so?
Yeah. I went in straight out of high school. As a teenager, I worked at a grocery store bagging groceries. I worked at a shoe store, worked at an ice cream shop on the beach, did manual labor on a ranch out in Colorado for a little bit of a time, and then went in the military.
And then after this occurred, how long did it take to recover?
I spent 14 months at Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio, Texas.
In the medical center?
Yeah, at the medical center there.
Not even
Inpatient,
going back
outpatient.
and forth. So going back and forth, you were able to go home and stuff?
Yeah, it was inpatient, outpatient, between the reconstructive surgery and the occupational physical therapy, all the other blast injuries, the head trauma I sustained, everything cumulatively. I spent the following 14 months there before I was medically put out.
Wow. So then what happened after? I never kind of figured out, did you go directly into speaking, or what happened right after you were able to get around and you're done with therapy? I
did kind of go directly into speaking, and that's not really a normal thing, nor did I really plan it. But the short version is a Vietnam veteran who had been speaking for about 30 or 35 years came to the medical center while I was still a patient there. And he spoke to me and about 20 other guys who'd been blown up and shot and everything in Iraq and Afghanistan. And he had been injured in Vietnam. He had a phosphorus grenade blow up next to his head and burn half his body off, but he survived. And so he'd been speaking for decades. And he basically said, "Hey, Brian, I'll show you how to do something with this if you're willing." And I thought to myself, well, I'm done dealing with the scum of the earth. I don't want to be a cop when I get out of here. And so I thought, let's try the speaking thing. Maybe less people will try and shoot me.
Exactly.
And sure enough, I haven't shot it yet, but I'm not in politics either. So really, I had a mentor who really, I don't know if I could even pay somebody enough money to do what this guy did for me. And he would put me up on his stages almost every weekend for like a year straight, and just 2 or 3 minutes at a time, then 5 or 7 minutes at a time. It got me exposure. It got me experience. It got me to tell my story and see that there's real value in this. And that's how I rolled into this thing.
What's his name?
His name is Dave Reaver.
Is he still around?
Oh yeah. If you look him up, his last name is spelled Roever. Dave Reaver. He does a lot with the military now.
Well, good for him. What a guy. I'll tell
he
you
never
that.
charged me a nickel either. It was all heart, and my family tree has changed and transformed because of him.
Amazing thing. So
yeah.
You kind of just got shoveled into this Screw the Commute thing. What's your speech about, basically, when you talk to people? And is it only speaking, or is it consulting? What all do you provide to companies and organizations?
Yeah, I do speeches. I do consulting. The main thing, the easiest way to describe it really is, how most people struggle to move beyond trauma or major life setbacks. Mm-hmm. So basically, I write books and speeches about human resilience and that help people take their next step forward so they can regain control of their life and sanity, whether it's personally or whether it's how these resilience principles apply to business. I spoke for a major bank just a few months ago out there in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they wanted to talk about resilience as it pertains to leadership. Mm-hmm. And so I do a lot of leadership talks and things like that. So resilience is something that applies to a lot of different areas of life, whether it's personal or in business. And so that's what I talk about.
You still do work with the military also, right?
Yes, I do resilience training for the military. Yeah.
Now, I imagine, I was never in the military. I was in ROTC for a while, but I imagine some of these, you were an obvious, all right, you got blown to hell, all right. But sometimes
halfway there.
Yeah, and sometimes I'm really imagining people come home from the service and they are blown up as bad as you, but there's nothing showing. In other words, it's internal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you're an inspiration to those people too, because it's harder for us civilians to relate. If guy looks like he's perfectly healthy and all fine, but inside it could be a mess, right?
Absolutely. I mean, when I first got injured, you've seen the pictures. I looked
Yeah.
really messed up. Well, it's been a number of years now. I look perfectly normal. I mean, I'm not that good looking, but I don't look like I got blown up. Like
Right.
you would never know by looking at me if you didn't know the story. And Tom, that's the way it is for all of us, though. We all have things that people they can't see
Right.
what we've been through, and it's the things that we do things and act certain ways based on how we feel inside, and we don't know how to handle issues. And so you might get somebody who just in a crowd of people just blows up and goes off the deep end yelling, and everyone's looking at that guy going, what the heck is wrong with him? But it's like, well, hey, he's had about 10 years of stuff building up, and now it just all came out.
Mhm.
That's why resilience is so important, because you can get things in order. You can have tactics that you can integrate into your life or your business to help keep it on track so it doesn't, blow up all around you someday.
Yeah, that's for sure. So tell us, this is Screw the Commute. So tell us more about your business. How does it operate? And is your family involved in it? Your wife involved in it, or is it all you? How's your business run?
Well, initially, my wife was helping me a lot. And I found out we made better lovers than business partners. And she knows where I sleep, so yeah. She really is hands off now. She'll help every now and then with like putting something on the calendar, but at this point, I've been picked up by a few speakers bureaus over the last number of years, and so that really helps take the load off for all the logistics and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But we still get stuff in that isn't from the bureaus, and yeah, my wife will usually just help me out with that, and she'll make the call and kind of see what they're trying to do and if I'm available and cover the details, stuff like that.
So are you on the road a lot, or is this more bigger events that once in a while you're going?
Probably, depending on the month, probably 3 to 5 times a month.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't like being gone more than that. Last September through December, I was home about 3 weeks, and it was spaced out, every few days I was home. But I came home and my kids, I have 2 little kids, 9 and 7. They looked a little bit taller and their voices were different.
Oh boy.
And that really
got you.
Yeah, that kind of got me. I'm like, man, the business, this is going pretty well, but there's a cost.
Oh, I thought you meant they were old enough you're going to send them on the road.
No, they will be working my book table though.
Yeah. Oh, of course, you got to have them. People
that's right.
can't resist buying a book off a kid.
You get a pretty lady or a kid or a dog back there or something, everyone's going to crowd around. So, yeah.
So did this mentor teach you the business of speaking too, or just how to be great on stage, or what?
The biggest thing I picked up from him was being on stage, really relating to people on a deeply personal heart level. He has written numerous books of his own over the years. He has, other programs. He has several nonprofits he's launched. And so I wouldn't say I got business training per se, but I got to see a lot of what was going on, and he would guide me whenever I'd ask questions or, hey, I'm trying to do this. He'd say, well, here's how I've done it, and here's how I know some other people have done it, and things like that. But I would say the biggest thing I took away from him was really the personal, the ability to relate personally to people from stage on a heart level so that they can actually get something that really helps them, but know that Brian's not just out here hawking a product. Like, this guy actually believes what he's saying because it's so much a part of his life. And sincerity is a big deal to me.
Do you use a lot of visuals to show what happened to you?
I'll use a PowerPoint for just a handful of pictures during a typical keynote. That's probably about 10% of the keynote. I don't like using keynotes I don't like using PowerPoints for my keynotes, except for just that part with 7 or 8 pictures, kind of tells a story.
Right.
I have the picture of me with my license plate that says nice try, and I'll give him the big thumbs up, and it's funny. Everybody laughs at it. But if I was giving like a sales presentation or something, that would be different. But my typical keynote speech is really conversational from me to the audience.
But you said you do consultation also. What type of thing would you be a consultant for?
I've mentored a number of people into speaking. I've had so many people come up to me because they've seen me talk or they've heard of me and basically say, hey, I want to use my story too, but I have no idea how to get into speaking. How do I write a speech? How do I sell it? What do I charge? All those questions that everybody asks when they first get in. I did actually, I'm right now with the launch of my next book. I have some programs coming out too that is actually going to be helpful for people who want to actually get into doing that.
Have you ever gotten screwed over in business?
Oh my gosh, not a lot, but the couple of times I have, it was big.
Yeah, I mean, you're a guy that doesn't do things small.
Yeah, I mean, if it's going down, like they're all coming with me. Actually, this is probably the biggest one that was most disappointing. So I live in Dallas, Texas. Well, I got booked to speak in El Paso, Texas. And if you're not from Texas, you might be saying, "Oh, that's probably like, from Miami to Fort Lauderdale, right? It's the same state." No, it's 11 and a half hours if you drive like I do, which is fast, one way. So you basically cross 3 or 4 states worth of distance
right.
if you're in another state. Well, I got booked to speak there. A lot of churches bring me in to talk for patriotic events, things like that. So that was the case here. So there wasn't really a contract. A lot of times they'll say, "Oh, we'll pay you this much," or we'll pass the plate, one of those things. And it's like, all right, whatever, just cover my expenses and do your pass the plate thing. And, so anyway, I went and I talked, and the guy didn't pass the plate. And so I looked at my wife after the service was ending, kind of weird, like, "Hey, he didn't do that. I wonder what their plan is." So afterwards, oh, by the way, I thought, well, let me back up. So I asked him about it. Basically, he played stupid the whole time. "Oh no, this was our agreement," or "No, we were going to cover your expenses and have you come." And I'm like, "No, you said you." Anyways, he literally played stupid.
This is a church.
Yeah, this is a senior pastor of a church who was a retired Army colonel.
Oh man.
Yeah. So this isn't normal, by the way. Most of my experiences have been great.
Right.
But not only that, get this, and you'll probably relate to this. They were serving barbecue brisket and dessert at the other end of the church after my talk, immediately following my talk. So guess how my book sales did?
Oh.
They tanked, because when you put books on a table to buy or barbecue brisket, people go for the food. All right, there's some places you can't sell. If it's an outdoor event, it's going to be hard. If it's an event where they have food afterwards, you might as well not even bring your books. And so I drove back 11 and a half hours after that to Dallas, and after dropping about a dozen F-bombs and how, that guy's going to burn and everything else, I literally just let go of it. And I thought, you know what? There's the old verse, you reap what you sow, what comes around goes around, and I can't poison myself over that forever. But now it's just a funny story I get to talk about with you.
Yeah. And and it is a learning experience too, because no matter what I speak at, a free charity event, whatever, there's a written agreement. Because
and this was like years ago.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, everything is a written agreement. So everybody's on the same page. Nobody can claim, "Oh, I didn't say that." Well, you signed the contract and it says it right here. And you can really sell when there's food involved, but you have to take care of it in the contract. Like, for instance, well, first of all, I avoid that like the plague. Any luncheons, I don't like them at all. But if I had to speak at a banquet or a luncheon, when I used to, in my contract says all busing of tables will stop when my introduction starts. All bus boys and wait personnel will be out of the room. Dessert is already down when they come into the room. I mean, things like that. I'm very detailed. I mean, it looks like it kind of looks like I'm arrogant, but no, I've done this 3,000 times, and I know what's going to work great for you and great for me. Where a lot of times the meeting planner was a secretary yesterday and doesn't have a clue what they're doing. And they just, we're going to have food after this. They don't think in terms of, hey, this is a business to you. So I'm very, very strict on my agreements. And, because a lot of times I was at places where people could get fired if I bombed, and they don't know any better. Yep. So I have to produce, and there's a lot of money on the line. Like if you're at a big convention and people paid $1,000 a piece to come there, and 50 people decide not to come because everything was so screwed up, that's $50,000 in revenue to the organization. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, there's a lot of money on the line at these things. And in that case, I hope that guy's fitted with a lightning rod. Yeah, because,
I'm not sure the elevation of El Paso, Texas, but I think it's a little bit higher than Dallas.
So yeah, he should get it. So
you want to know an even better part of that is after I booked that event, I got an invitation to a mega church in Grand Rapids, Michigan, like 8,000-9,000 people every week.
mm-hmm.
But I was already booked at this other place, and so it's my policy of integrity. If you're already booked, it doesn't matter how big or small it is, you keep that date.
That's right.
And so I told them about my buddy Chad, who I ended up co-authoring my book Redeployed with. Well, he got booked and he was just starting to speak. And so he went that night. I called him. I said, "Hey, how'd it go? How'd the talk go?" And he's telling me how great it is. And we sold all these books, and man, like we got these awesome pictures and the great video, and we got like this many new donors for our nonprofit. And I'm like, dude, that's awesome. I didn't have the heart to tell him. Like what my night had been like. I'm like, yeah, I'm good, man. I'm in El Paso.
Yeah, I got some rubber chicken. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, but you did the right thing. And it's, if you didn't do those kinds of things, I wouldn't be talking to you. And a lot of other people wouldn't either. I mean, all you have is your integrity. So
Yeah.
That's the way it works in this deal. You can only be so many places. I mean, well, technically, I think when you were blown up, you could probably be a couple places at once. But
Well, I was in one place. The suicide bomber, he was in several places.
yeah, that's right.
You're right.
So now I heard a crazy thing about those suicide bombers. I don't know if this is true, but the interpretation is, it used to everybody say, well, they die and they get so many virgins or something. And I saw some scholar on some very legitimate thing say that no. And I'm not making fun of anybody or anything. This is just a bizarre thing. She said, no, the interpretation is they get a whole bunch of raisins, not virgins. And I don't know where I heard that, but this was a scholar that studies all that stuff and said that. I thought, man, what a letdown that is. Yeah.
Well, you know what I always say, man, I was speaking for, I don't remember what company it was. It was a big one. It was one of the Fortune, I think it was a 100 company, Fortune like 100. And I made it just came off the tongue. Sometimes you think of something on stage and you just say it, rolls off your tongue. And I told that part about, yeah, apparently he gets like 72 virgins when he dies, and then I tagged right on the end real quick. I hope they're all female. And I just kept rolling. And about 5 seconds later, people started laughing. It was like a delayed reaction.
Oh my God.
So funny. I'm like, I might never get booked here again, but people love it.
I don't think, we probably shouldn't be saying that anymore either in today's atmosphere. You get blown up again.
What are they going to do? Try and kill me? There you go. Been there.
So what do you like best about working for yourself, and what's the worst part?
Oh man. Well, work the best, I would say, is how much control I actually have over how my own time is spent.
Mm-hmm.
Now that is obviously dictated because I still have customers, clients, I have to be certain places, but I don't have to go sit in a cubicle from 9 to 5 every day. I'm not required to be in any certain spot. I mean, I choose what speaking engagements I do or don't get. And I've been known for choosing the ones in November in West Palm Beach. And, I'll be there. And, it doesn't matter, or Phoenix, in the wintertime or somewhere. I mean, really, it's how control over how my time is spent or where I have to go. Yeah.
And what's the worst part?
I'd say the worst part about working for myself is that I'm working for me. And people might think that's weird, but here's the deal. I'm a very self-aware person. And here's what I know about me. And some of your listeners can relate to this, I'm sure. I'm an extremely creative, high-energy person who gets too many ideas, and I get off track easily.
Uh-huh. The shiny object
I need
syndrome.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's like so many new ideas and
squirrel.
What I can do with it. Yeah, I just need a shotgun to start shooting all the squirrels, so I don't get sidetracked all the time.
Yeah. So how do you reel that in? How do you keep productive with that being the way you are?
Well, a lot of times I'll actually invest money on the front end into a project. That way, if I feel like getting off track or a shiny new object. I'm like, well, I put $2,000 into that book cover or something or whatever that was, and that's actually the case. It wasn't 2,000. It was a little bit less than that, but it was more than I ever paid for a book cover. But the guy's one of the best like in the world, and like for my next book, which we'll talk about in a bit, he did that cover. Well, I wrote that book last year, and I saw a bunch of shiny squirrels, and now I'm just wrapping it up. But I kind of did that to myself because now I'm invested.
Right.
And I'm not going to let any money I put into that project just go to waste.
Exactly.
And so I kind of played a trick on myself. And in addition to that, I get other people. When other people are involved too, it's not just you. It's harder to walk away and drop a project when other people have invested their time and you've paid them to be a part of it.
Well, and I've used the mind trick on myself forever, and that is I announce something that I'm going to do to the world.
Yeah.
And then I'm too embarrassed to not do it. So I'll scratch and crawl, to get it done because I don't want to look like you got to just BSing all the time and dreamer, So that's the mind trick I play. Now, do you have any other, besides speaking and books, what do you got in between to make money? Do you have any online courses or anything like that?
Yeah. I have a couple online courses. There's one that I'll be revamping. A couple I'll be revamping actually with the launch of my next book coming out here really soon. One is called Take Back Your Life. It's an online resilience course for trauma survivors, military veterans, people who have hit a rough patch in life, and they're not entirely sure how to move forward yet. And it's a step-by-step process that I experienced, which I was able to take my next step forward and move forward in life productively beyond my setbacks. And I've had multiple setbacks. The suicide bomber is just one of them. Probably the most physically
hard
painful.
to beat that one,
Yeah, it's pretty big. And I'm revamping another one called Use Your Story, which is where it's an online program where I teach people how to use their story in public speaking to make a difference in the world, and also how to get paid doing it. And what do you talk about? How do you get booked? What has to be on a contract? All that kinds of stuff. So yeah.
So can the military pay for any of these military folks to take some of your training?
Scholarshiping them through, absolutely.
Scholarship,
yeah.
Or is there some program? Isn't there some programs that their families can even get paid for? I don't really know, but I thought I heard that there's programs for spouses of military people.
Well, I don't have one for spouses in particular, but if an organization came to me and said, "Hey, we'd like to, buy 5 access for 5 military spouses or military veterans so they can go through your course," we would work that out.
Right.
It's not a usual thing I do, and so we don't really have a back end set up for facilitating that on autopilot. But now and then we have something like that happen, and so we'll just manually work it with them.
So tell us about that new book.
Well, the new book is called The Resilience Booklet.
It'll be out in 2-3 years, right?
No, actually, by the time this podcast airs.
Great. So unless any squirrels or shiny objects run in front of you, I don't want that to happen.
That's right. That's right. Well, yeah, it's called The Resilience Booklet, and it's about how extreme survivors overcome massive challenges. And the premise really is, I've noticed that some people bounce back when they go through trauma or challenges, and some people don't. And that really bothered me my first couple of years of speaking, because I bounced back. I just really didn't know how I did it. I just sort of did. And in the book, I talk about some of the primary habits of what I call the world's most resilient people, and how to apply those to your own life and circumstances so you can be stronger and more successful and move forward. And, I would say my 12 closest friends are all extreme tragedy survivors.
Wow.
Whether they're rape survivors, sexual assault, extreme burn victims, like worse than I was, 80+% third-degree burns, missing arms, legs, eyes. I'm
not sure I want to be your friend. Tell you now if I have to go through that.
Now, I have even more friends who are not mangled.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Preface that there. But, here's how I learned this stuff. I learned it through my own personal life experience, which I do realize is not always universal to everybody, but it's insightful. The thing that helped me move forward, one of the biggest things, was having these other people come into my life and learning from them how they moved past a certain issue, because I knew that they hadn't just read about this stuff. Like, you can't fake 85% third-degree burns on your body.
Sure.
Well, like, this guy survived it. How did he make sense of this? How did he get to a point where he could move forward again, or go out in public, or get on stage and talk about it? And so there's all these things. That's how I've learned, in addition to the fact I read a ton. And so I've researched human resilience a lot. And so this is basically, the resilience booklet is my condensed, simplified version, taking a complex topic that everyone wants to know how to do and really simplifying it so that it's easy to understand and you can apply it to your life right now. And so that'll be that's available at resiliencebooklet.com.
And they can probably get to it through Blown Up Guy also, right?
Yeah. But if you go to resiliencebooklet.com, there's a number of free bonuses. We're giving them like stuff like the audio version, the ebook free, and a few other things. And plus, it's going to be a free book. Just pay shipping, just a few bucks. And so it's a way we can get these out to more people and help a lot more people with it.
Right. And we'll have all that in the show notes, folks. And this is episode 59. So it'd be screwthecommute.com /59. Now, we got to take a brief break for some shout outs and a sponsor. But when we come back, Brian Fleming, the blown up guy, is going to tell us what a typical day is like and how he stays motivated. Let me tell you about Nick Berry, Dr. Nick Berry. He sells essential oils, and these are people that helped me get the podcasts started, so I always want to give them a shout out. He has the site essentialoilwizardry.com, and the essential oil story I have is I had a blind dog one time, and I found out that if you put essential oils on the baseboards in the different rooms, different scents, then the dog knows where it's at. So that was a little cute extra use for essential oils. Mary Simuluka, she is a wonderful, wonderful lady and a Hollywood producer-director, and she did the movie VictorandIMovie.com, and that's Victor is VIKTOR, VictorandIMovie.com. It's a great documentary. Janice Myers is from MakingTracksCamping.com, and that's Making Tracks, TRAX, MakingTracksCamping.com, and she has a phrase. She teaches you how to do dispersed camping trips. Like, what the heck is dispersed camping mean? Are you blown up and dispersed like that idiot that tried to blow up Brian? I don't know what that means. She said, well, that's where people go on solitude and adventure camping away from developed campgrounds. So that's Janice Myers. All right, our sponsor, you've heard Brian talking about his life as a traveled speaker, and some people aren't quite ready to put their toes in the water and go full blast getting training on speaking, but we have a way that you can put your toes in and start learning about this, even if you're employed doing something else. AmazingPublicSpeaking.com has over 475 public and professional speaking techniques, openings, closings, attention-gaining devices, humor, the business of speaking, and it's only $97 for an entire year. So, and it also has we also have a complimentary webinar that's got 30 speaking tips in about 30 minutes or so. You can check that out. All that'll be in the show notes at screwthecommute.com/59. All right, let's get back to the main event. Brian Fleming, the blown up guy. Brian, what's a typical day look like for you? Let's say, let's do it twice. Once you're on the road speaking, and then also when you're in the office. What do those days look like for you?
Well, when I'm home, it's just really waking up really whenever I want, but I usually get woken up when my kids go to school. Mm-hmm. And so I'm usually up with them. And usually them and I, we'll do push-ups together before breakfast because I want my kids to be strong.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I've got to get my kids strong. So, it's something I actually heard Arnold Schwarzenegger tell a story about how his father used to make him do push-ups every morning before breakfast. Wow. So he had to learn that he had to earn everything he got. And so my little 9-year-old boy, my 7-year-old girl, they're good at push-ups, and we do them together. I don't just sit there and watch them. I do them with them. And so we do that. I'll get up. They'll go to school. I usually go for a run or work out. Come back, drink some coffee, and eat breakfast with my wife. Get to work on something I'm doing, whatever I'm working on at that moment. I'll do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu usually 4 nights a week in the evenings, and get home from that.
What made you pick that as a martial art?
Well, most fights go to the ground in the first 15 seconds, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is all ground fighting. And if you're going to be on the ground fighting, which is going to be everybody unless you get lucky and knock somebody out in one hit, you're going to have to know how to fight on the ground. And if you don't and they do, you're really in big trouble. And the military, they teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's their number one self-defense training, is that actual martial art. And so I had some experience with it from the past as well.
Yeah, the reason I asked is because I'm kind of a self-defense expert, and I have I was in over 100 violent confrontations, bikers trying to kill me, gunfights, knife fights, and been studying various arts all my life. And I only started studying a little bit of BJJ, knowing that there's a possibility I'll get knocked to the ground, and most of my fighting has been up fighting, and to know what to do down there. But I don't want to stay down there. In fact, some major BJJ people you would have heard of gave me my money back when they're trying to tell me, oh, well, yeah, you hold this guy here and tire him out. And I'm thinking, oh, is that right? Okay, well, while you're trying to tire me out, I'm going to take my folder out with one hand and disembowel you before your buddies come kick my brains out. So
yeah,
I do believe in learning that, but I don't want to be on the ground. You want to get the hell off the ground.
Yeah. Well, I do a lot of Muay Thai also, which is stand up kickboxing, because that's where it starts.
Exactly.
And I'm with you in the sense that if it doesn't have to go to the ground, don't, because the guy might have 2 ugly cousins come up, and if you're on the ground,
they're going to kick your brains out, or you could be laying in glass and vomit and everything else.
Yeah, you never know. I always figure, get good at stand up, get good on the ground, and don't ever get down there if you don't have to.
Exactly.
But, yeah.
Because I see some of these people on purpose trying to go to the ground. And that's great if you're in a match, but not on the street where people don't care, and they don't care. There's no rules, So, hey, I want to ask you. I want to ask you another thing about your kids. Do you watch? That's really great that you're getting them strong as the young kids and getting that in their head. What about their diet? Do you pay attention to that, or do they eat just whatever all the other kids eat?
No, actually, my wife and I are pretty intentional about our diet and what we eat. My biggest thing is I like to feel good, and if I eat like crap, I don't feel good. And so, like any kids, we let our kids, have normal food like pizza and the stuff you shouldn't have every now and then. But we tend to eat pretty healthy. I wouldn't say we're total health nuts in the imagined definition of that, but we are intentional about what we eat. So we do eat a lot of like meat that I've hunted, and a lot of vegetables, things like that. That's probably 60 to 70% of what we eat in my house. But then there's always time for cheating, because I like ice cream and chocolate, and so do my kids. So, we're intentional, but we're not, I guess you say, total prudes with it.
Yeah, but it's just, a lot of the kids are coming up through the ranks. They don't make them go to gym class. They're just, they're getting a really bad start health-wise. And so
gym class is a joke from when I was a kid. Probably even more of a joke than when you were a kid.
Oh, my God.
I don't think they can climb ropes anymore, because they think someone will be offended if they can't do it.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Which is the whole point.
Give him a trophy for standing there and looking at the rope.
Exactly.
Participation trophy. Yeah. I don't know. You haven't seen me for a long time, but I lost about 100 pounds since the last time you saw me. But basically on a ketogenic kind of lifestyle. So it's very low carb. But when you brought up hunting, I'm thinking, oh man, I was in a hunting accident. I'm sure you don't know about it, in January, and it would have been a great story had I got shot, but no, I fell on a log and tore my intestines.
Oh my God,
yeah.
really?
Oh yeah, I'm still recovering from it. This is
Jeez.
8-9 months later. But the worst part of it, Brian, was they're dragging me out of the woods, screaming like a baby in 13 inches of snow and a blizzard, and I swear I could hear a bunch of deer laughing.
Not today, Tommy.
Yeah, nice try. No, I think they were saying nice try now that I think of it. So,
Oh man, well, I'm glad you're doing better.
yeah, I'm coming back from it. But so how do you stay motivated?
Man, truthfully, I got some beef with motivation. And here's the thing. Truthfully, I don't always stay motivated.
Mhm.
And I think anybody who's totally honest will tell you the same.
That's right.
Motivation is one of those things that just comes and goes. It's a roller coaster, but I am deeply driven, and I deeply believe in the work that I do. And I know that it helps people. And I know that my time on this earth is short. And the fear of regret more than anything, that is like not doing something I want to do, not doing something and then never knowing what could have been. I would say I'm more pulled along by a strong conviction to make my life count and make it meaningful. And I expect things to go wrong along the way. So I really just embrace the suck when they do. And I just know it's part of the process. And here's where this comes from, though. When I woke up that day in Kandahar after the suicide bombing, I was pretty sure I was going to die. And I kind of dealt with the where will I go? I'm a person of faith, and so I didn't really think about that. But what did come to mind when you think you're about to die, only the most important things come to mind.
Right.
And it was these two thoughts. They're one thought, but they're two. It was, what did I do with my life that mattered, and what did I do for other people? And in that moment, I really couldn't answer that question to my own satisfaction. And that was literally, Tom, the most terrifying experience I've ever had. It was more terrifying than the explosions, gunfights, and shootouts, getting into it with terrorists. It was this ultimate, unchangeable sense of regret and remorse that I'm 20 or 21 years old. This life is already over with. And I didn't feel like I did anything that made a difference. And I was born into this world. I kind of did my thing, nothing really meaningful, and now it's over with. And that was the worst experience ever. And so that's what, to talk about motivation, I wouldn't say I'm motivated, I'm driven. And I'm driven by that because I don't want to get to the end of my life dying slowly on a deathbed if I had the privilege, and think to that same question, did I make my life count? And to be without an answer again. It's kind of like fool me once, shame on you,
Right.
Fool me twice, shame on me. I know the questions I'm going to ask if I end up having the privilege of dying slowly. And I don't want to be without answer, or an answer that satisfies me.
Very powerful stuff, man. I want to ask you one more question about your kids. How old are they?
They're 9 and 7.
Now, if I ask them, what's daddy do? What would they say?
Probably a number of things. Writes books, speaks, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, yells sometimes, travels a lot, things like that.
So they get an idea of the do they have any kind of feel at that age of the how you're helping people?
Yeah, I think they do. In fact, I just gave my son some public speaking advice this morning because he's presenting a science project not today in front of the class. And I'll tell you that I don't care who's in there. That's going to be the most well put together 3-minute speech on science in that class, because I know the structure. I know I know how to tell a good story. I just had him fill in the details, and I helped him polish it up.
Boy, I wish I'd have had that skill, known about. I mean, I didn't get in until I was in my 30s, but boy,
man, I tell everybody, high school, college kids, if there's one skill
right,
you need to become good at, it's public speaking, because you can take it anywhere.
That's for sure.
You can suck at everything, but if you can speak, I mean, you can eat, you can provide, you can do stuff.
Yeah, and even if you are in a job, you're going to get raises. You're going to be the last one that gets fired because you're able to motivate the troops, and you're a good communicator to the public and everything else. So you'll be the last one to go. So
yeah, people see you as a leader when you're willing to get up and speak and represent the company or organization. You're seen as a leader immediately, because most other people, they're like they say, they're more afraid of that than death.
Yeah, they're hiding from it. So,
Yep.
man, it's been great catching up with you, Brian. We could go on all day. I love hearing your stories and how you turn something so horrendous into something so great that's helping so many people. And don't think it goes unnoticed, because I'm sitting back here thinking of you probably saved some lives, probably a lot of lives with people that were internally ready to explode like that idiot next to you. And they didn't because of what you told them. So, good for you, man. Good for you.
Thank you.
So, everybody, I hope you like this special episode. This is episode 59. Brian Fleming, the blown up guy. Make sure you visit the show notes so you can see all his great stuff. Take advantage of it. And please subscribe and review. If you don't know how to do that, you can learn at screwthecommute.com. We have instructions for you newbies out there that maybe you just got exposed to these things. And I will catch you on the next episode. See you later.